I'm Alex, and you're watching the MESA Sessions. Today, our topic is everything you need to know about A&R. Today, we're here with Alison Ball, who has an extensive background in the music industry, having worked in executive A&R positions at EMI, RCA, and Warner Records. She also served as president of TuneGo in the music tech sector, and currently works as co-founder and CEO of JBR Creative Group, as well as a board member of the Guitar Center Foundation. Allison, it's great to have you with us here today.
Thank you for having me. This is really fun. Yes, I've had a lot of jobs.
We're going to talk all about them. Get some of your
Awesome. You have
insights.
a great voice too.
Thank you. Before we get into it, I just want to talk briefly about what A&R is. So I think some people know that A&R stands for Artist and Repertoire, but what does that mean to you? How would you describe it in your own words, what you do?
A&R, especially back in the day when I started in the business, is the coveted job at a record company. You discover the new talent, you find new talent, you pick them, you bring them to the label, and you pretty much become their point person at the label, everything. And you discover people. And so A&R, artist repertoire, artist relations, it really is bringing an artist into a situation, helping craft out their whole career, which is picking songs, making sure which song goes first, who helps does their marketing, what are they talking about, what is their message, what are they getting across, how are you marketing them, and then you become the champion in the building to get everyone else just as excited as you are to get behind this artist and put money behind it. So A&R, really is discovering amazing talent. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but and it's a lot of work. It's a lot, and it's a thankless job. But at the same time, when you have those aha moments, it's also the best job in the record business.
Awesome. So now I'd like to spend some time getting to know you a little bit and some of your experience and how that's kind of informed your perspective on the industry. So you have an incredible resume spanning decades in the music industry. How did you first get into the business, and what attracted you to A&R specifically?
That's a really good question. So, yes, I've been doing this a really long time after graduating from college. I went to UC Berkeley, and I love college campuses that are really, nurturing people with music because I think music is it's our theme. It's the backbone of everything we do in our life. Like music is so important to our souls. But I never really thought about getting into the music business till after I graduated, and it was kind of by chance. So I grew up in Los Angeles, and I knew a lot of the like up and coming bands. And then when I graduated from UC Berkeley, I came home and I think I was in investment banking training program back then. I can't remember what I was doing, and I needed to find a job. And I got sent through a temporary agency to go work for a man named Shep Gordon. And Shep Gordon, you can look him up. He's called Supermensch. There's a movie that Mike Myers produced on him. And he was one of the most powerful music managers in the business. He managed Luther Vandross, Teddy Pendergrass, Alice Cooper, Kenny Loggins, the Callaways, just Jimi Hendrix back in the day. So yes, I'm dating myself, but young girl out of college, and I became assistant controller of his company, which I handled the books, tour accounting, and I really learned money, music money, handling artists, helping him handle artists with money and music, and doing budgets and stuff like that. That's how I started. Once I did that for a few years, I really did not want to do that anymore. I was like, this is not the fun job. The fun job is hanging out with the artists and being creative and figuring out how to, take them to a next level. So I actually took a step back and became an assistant at CBS Records, which was CBS Sony at that time, that's how long ago, it's not even on my resume. And I became a secretary for 5 A&R people and 2 promotion people, and it was 2 of us. It was me and another guy named David, and, I worked for the head of A&R. So, basically, all the rock artists that came in, I worked in rock, R&B, hip hop at that time was just coming up, and it really was knowing who the players were, who the hot producers were, who the hot writers were, who the hot artists were, how to put them together, how to, get them on the phone, how to get into the studio, how to find the right songs. And it was a click. It was really a click. So once I kind of got in and I worked as an assistant for about a year, I gave myself 1 year. And I said, if I don't like move up as an executive, as an A&R manager in a year, then I was going to go back to business school. And I had already applied to business school for SC and somewhere else I got accepted. I can't remember. And my parents were like, we spent all this money at UC Berkeley and you're a secretary. Like, you better get your stuff together.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, 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 I want to do it. And we don't want you in the music business and da 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 da. So literally to the day of the year, a really good friend of mine, kind of like the godmother in the music business, a woman named Brenda Andrews, who was senior vice president of music publishing at Rondor Music, which was A&M, Herb Albert's company, called me up and said, hey, there's a guy named Ron Fair, who's a big time producer, A&R guy, and he's looking for somebody like you, somebody that has all the connections, and he's looking for an A&R manager. So I called up Ron Fair, and Ron Fair at the time had produced, he was the one who discovered Christina Aguilera. He produced we worked on, oh God, there's so many I can't even think right now. He worked on a lot of jazz records, Christina Aguilera, the Black Eyed Peas, all that. So anyway, he got this. We were at EMI. He became senior vice president of A&R, and he brought me in as A&R manager. Now, let me back up. I didn't really have that much music experience as a producer, I worked with him from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. in the office. And at 5, we took a dinner break from 5 to 6. And at 7, I was in the studio with him every single night of the week while he was producing. And that's where I learned how to produce records. And not really physically, but an ear for records, how to write songs, what a hit song sounds like, how to record with artists. And that was really my like groundswell of learning about picking artists, picking songs, working with artists, working with crazy producers, et cetera, et cetera.
Were there any people that were like especially formative in your early career, like mentors or people
Yeah,
that you worked
well,
alongside?
yeah, well, Ron Fair, Brenda Andrews. But on the music side, I worked with the OJs. I worked with Shaka Khan. I mean, in different parts of record companies. God, you probably don't even know all these people. Luther Vandross, of course, Alice Cooper. I still have a Welcome to the Nightmare tour jacket, believe it or not. That's worth a lot of money right now with my name on it. God, there was trying to think who else. Najee, Freddie Jackson. Those were my early days. And really, a lot would happen for me. A lot of the production companies were record companies. So we always had these production deals. They will report to me. So people who, it's crazy because like Easy E, I worked with him early on in his career when I was at Epic. So just knowing different people, but LA and Babyface were big, big songwriter producers. Callaways were big songwriter producers. And really, I think for me, I really knew all the hot up and coming producers. Pharrell, I knew Pharrell very early on, gave him one of his first like independent release like records. Tricky Stewart and I started together. Tricky Stewart and I and the Stewart brothers, Lainey and Tricky, who did all the Beyonce hits, Rihanna hits, and all that. We all came up together, gave them some of their first starts. So for me in the music business coming up, it really was about the next producer, the power producers. And that's where I really leaned into knowing the producers, getting them to work on our projects and stuff.
Awesome. And then you spoke about how you didn't have a connection to music really previously. How would you say that like now you've kind of grown to connect with music?
Well, music
What's
is
your
that.
relationship with it?
Yeah, music is everything. Like for me, you know what? Part of my passion for this business, besides just great songs and great music, is it's really hard to be an artist. So I'm kind of a nurturer. I'm really about people don't understand how hard it is to be a singer, a songwriter, keep going, believing in yourself, figuring out what avenue. And that's where I believe I come in. And I've always, even at Warner Brothers, we had 100 artists. And I would sit with a Curtis Mayfield or a Shaka Khan or Roger Troutman and people like that, Prince, and say, how can I help you? What do you want to do next? Even if I didn't sign those artists, if I came into the company, I would try to navigate what they wanted to do next. For instance, like a Roger Troutman who did California Love with Dr. Dre and Snoop. He was like, I want to go work with all the rappers. So I called all the rappers and I said, I got Roger Troutman. He's trying to make a comeback. And they put him in the studio and worked with him. And that's how California Love came out and all those type of songs. So it's really about becoming a nurturer because artists, you know, they get beat up a lot. And especially now, it's just a really tough business to keep going, keep producing, keep generating music. So for me, the love of music, besides the love of music, to hear a song from the beginning of it and an artist like plays you the demo or plays you the first part of it, and you're like, that's a hit. Like when you know that's a hit, you and then you nurture it. How do you fix it? And part of a lot what I did early on was somebody would come with something like that was good, and then I would match them to the right producer to produce it. And that's really what artist is about. Taking an artist, figuring out who the right producer that will nurture them, not tear them down, because not everybody gets along.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not everybody's the right match. And we've made our mistakes too. Like even I have an artist, like my artist that I'm still with, Eric Benet. I put him with Pharrell years ago and they just didn't work. You know what I mean? It was like we never put those records out. I'm actually just found the records recently, and this is like 20 something years. And I'm like, I think I'm gonna get these records out now. But the point of it is they just didn't match. You know what I mean? And so it really is to match an artist with the right producer that's gonna pull the best they have out of them. And that is not easy.
Hmm. Speaking of Eric Benet, could you tell us a little bit about JBR, your kind of new venture, and how
Yes.
that differs from your experience with corporate labels?
Yes. Wow. That's funny. So Eric Benet and I started together. I signed him at EMI when it was him and his sister called the Benet. And we put a record out. Jeff Lorber, I don't know if you guys know Jeff Lorber. He's a big jazz producer, big producer. He did Karen White. He's done a million things. He's still out doing music now. Jeff Lorber helped produce it, and Ron Fair. And the record really didn't do anything. I left EMI and I went to RCA. And then when I went to RCA, we didn't really sign. But when I got to Warner Brothers, I signed him as a solo artist. And he was broke. Like, I need to, please help. And I signed him as a solo artist. And that's when his career really started taking off. So we made a record together. And then I made, we've Grammy nominated records, a couple number one records, stuff like that. So we were on great, amazing singer. He's an amazing singer, amazing songwriter. And then we kind of separated because I kind of got out of the business for a minute. But he found an investor. And at this point, we're kind of coming back together because we start working on some other projects. We always stayed in touch with each other. And he's like, listen, I got an investor and I found an artist. And I don't know how to run the back room or run a record company. Will you come consult us? And at that point, I was working at Tungo in the tech industry, in the NFT world and, Web3 world. And I was hesitant at first, but because he's my old artist, we have such a great relationship. I said, yeah, I'll come in and help you. And it kind of took off from there. But I told him the only way I'd come in and work on this other project is if you and I get back in the studio and make a record on you, because he hadn't had a record out in 10 years. And he's like, I don't know where to start. Where am I going? Like, the music is so different. I'm like, I got this. And that's how we came up with the Co-Star record, which is him with duets with all these different women. And then that's when we went and got like, different younger producers to come in and work with. And we got Felly the Voice. We got Church wrote on it. Daniel Church wrote on it. Okay, then Sauce worked on it. Tricky and them worked on it. Tricky Stewart, Lainey Stewart worked on it. We had the duets were with Ari Lennox, Alex Isley. So we took old school, new school, and started pulling them together. And it really started working for him. At first he was uncomfortable, but then it really started working. And so that was my whole ploy, get him back into the studio. So JBR has been great. It's been he and I kind of coming up with finding the artist, um, jumping into the new game, which is hard. It's a different game. It's a completely different game. And, that shift from old school records to new school records. And we really call our company kind of like old school, new school, because we have two new artists, Autumn Page and Joe Leone, and then Eric. And we are looking to develop more artists. But now it's all about the digital game. It's all about streaming. It's all about now it's going back to direct marketing. You know what I mean? And we've had to learn a lot really quick. So has it been easier? It started out easy, to be honest with you. Now it's how do we scale? How do we cut costs back? Because really, how you make money in the business is completely different. We're going to go more into having events, um, putting tours on, stuff like that. So it really, really has changed. And I've had to learn, both of us had to learn fast the new game.
Hmm. Awesome. And then since you've had so many different roles in this industry, which of those would you say was the most sort of formative or the most, I guess, important for getting you to where you are today?
That's a very good question. I would probably say, working inside a label, you can't get any better knowledge than working inside a label. And part of it is labels are a tough job. And they're fun, but at the same time, you got a lot of personalities. You got a lot of crazy creative people. Artists are crazy, producers are crazy, the executives are crazy. You have to learn how to navigate all of it. At the same time, be on top of your game. And on top of your game is how, for me, it's hit records and making sure you're bringing the money in and that your records are doing really well and the team gets behind you. So I would say getting inside a record company to really learn the nuts and bolts is crucial. Even if you have to intern, it changes the game for you. And, I hire people who have been inside a label and people who haven't been in a label. And the people inside a label are way different game because they've had to deal with like it's a thankless job. Like you don't show up on time. Like next, we got somebody next. We're not waiting for you. You have to go in. You have to fight for your position. You have to be great at you have to overwork everyone else. Those are the things that are super, super important. And it's also being associated with winners. You know what I mean? Really
Yes.
being associated with winners. If you're around winners and learn something from them. It's funny because the passing of D'Angelo. So D'Angelo got signed to EMI when I was at EMI. I did not sign him. My another A&R guy signed him, but I remember being in the room when D'Angelo walked in the room and everybody was like he was amazing. We knew he was going to be huge. But I've never said, "Oh, I signed D'Angelo." I was in the room when D'Angelo got signed. You know what I mean? And there's a big difference there. I didn't make the record with him or anything like that. But I went, it was this whole hub of things going around. So being in the room with people, you also learn so much. And that's why working for people who are really super great at their game is super important. Now, sometimes the personalities are tough and then you have to work on, can you deal with this personality? Can you do that? You know what I mean? So it's just, I think being inside a label really gives you on hand experience in so many different ways.
And then how about the difference between like a big label, like say Warner, Sony, versus an independent label? How do you think the culture and like I guess also the way they treat artists and how that development process works? How do you think those differ?
Oh, it's a huge difference. So being at our label, which is a small label, it's fine. All man on deck. You're doing like 10 jobs. There's no one job. It's like I can be like, oh, hey, you got a connection with that person? Get that person on the phone. Oh, let's go see this. Let's go there. And it's you work on everything together. Your opinion's important, even if you have nothing to do with it. At a major, it's a little different. You kind of have to stay in your lane. You kind of work in your department. Very political. um, it's funny, somebody called me up recently and said, "Hey, would you go back inside a major label?" And I went, "They couldn't pay me enough." Because it's a constant competition on top of doing your job well, on top of making sure you're making your numbers. But, for younger people, it's the best experience you can get. I prefer a smaller label because I really like to work collectively. I like to have young people around me and I want to hear their opinion on different things. That's what I'm doing this. I've been doing this a long time, but I don't know everything. And especially there's a new way of doing stuff. So yeah, I think both are great, but I prefer a small label.
Great. Now I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about from the artist perspective what they can sort of look for in an A&R and things they can do to get attention from people like you to be successful when they're kind of scouting and trying to build their career. First, I'm wondering if you have any like common misconceptions that people have about A&R, what you do, what you can do for them, what they have to do for you.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, it's such like the A&R, like like almost like the Oz, and it's really not like that. You really wanna get somebody that believes in who you are and what you're trying to say as an artist. I cannot make or break an artist if an artist doesn't know who they are. That doesn't mean you have to know everything 100%, but you have to have some direction Know what you're trying to say to the world, and you also have to be open to listen.
Mhm.
Because just because you're a great musician doesn't mean you're gonna be a superstar. That's why we only have so many superstars. We have the superstars, we have the B pluses, the Bs, because it really just depends on who that artist is as a person. So for artists, they need to find somebody that believes in them, somebody that understands where they're going, somebody who's going to ride or die for them, that's going to fight with them when no one else is there, because you need that.
Mhm.
It's either your manager or your A&R person. Like, I know plenty of managers who found artists that nobody believed in and just kept at it and kept at it and kept at it. And then 5, 10 years later, it's like, voila, and everybody thinks it happened overnight. I mean, I'll give a great example is Leon Thomas. Leon Thomas has been around grinding for a very, very long time. And he he had people that believe in him. You know, he was an actor, then a songwriter, producer, and then he just kept grinding on his own. And 10 years later, 12 years later, probably be best new artist. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's what it takes. You have to find team members, people that believe in you. And the other thing is you can never give up on your dream. If this is what you really want, it's not. Some people happen overnight, not most people.
Mhm. What are a few things in your perspective that make an artist stand out above the others around them?
Well, for me, I'm really about that real talent. Can you really sing? Can you play a music instrument? I'm old school. So, Eric and I both are old school. You got to come with like something really unique, and you know it when it's unique. It's just the it factor. You hear it and you go, "Okay, that stood out." One thing, I have all this test when I was at Warner Brothers or major labels when the phones are just ringing and everybody's in your office and you're so busy.
Mhm.
If a producer or an artist came in and played a song while I was on the phone, I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And it made me go, "Wait a minute, let me call you back."
Mhm.
And it stopped me in my tracks.
That's it.
I knew it then, if it was that song, that beat, or that artist. So it has to stop you in your tracks, or it has to hit your soul somewhere that says, wow, this is really special. Now, how do we get it out to the world? How do we sell it? How do we get it there? And, I've had many artists that I've absolutely loved that I couldn't close a deal on because their managers or somebody else was involved. And, you feel like you lost the world. Honestly, at our company now, there was an artist that I really was into early, like about maybe 6 months ago. And we offered them a deal. And, we're just a small company. So it wasn't a crazy deal, but you were going to get the rollout with our team. And they didn't do it. And I think they regretted it because they didn't get a deal later. And I couldn't come back and offer that deal to them at that point. And I really believed in this artist as a singer, songwriter, artist, player. So, the thing of it is like you find artists, you usually fall in love with them. And I don't mean like all in love, but when you're like, I become mama bear, like, you're my kid. Let's go. We're going to do this together. And it works sometimes and sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes people are thankless. We had another artist at our label that, you know, superstar and just couldn't get out of their own way. Just wasn't grateful. Just sabotaged everything. And we had to say, okay, I've done this too long that I know that
Mhm.
this is not going to get better. And we're spending way too much money and it's not going to get better. So it's just the business becomes a business then.
Mhm.
And you have to make smart decisions. So it is a real business. It's a tough real business because it's also based on emotion.
Mhm.
Because a lot of times when you spend so much time with an artist, you're like hours in the studio, you go to dinner together, you travel together, you become a family.
Mhm.
But you never can forget that it's a business because sometimes they disappoint you.
Mhm.
And you have to be like, oh, and people get hurt. A&R people and artist managers, trust me, they get their feelings hurt. You put all this time into them. You're like, you're my kid. You're like kissing them. I
Mhm.
got you. We're gonna go. And sometimes they go left, and sometimes you have to go. Okay, I did everything I can. So
Mhm.
each situation's different. I've never had an artist that's the same, like anything, but It is also great when you have an artist. I have an artist right now that I've had for a while, Joe Leone, and he's starting to crack through. And I met him when he had nothing going on, and he's now starting to crack through on tour. And it's like to see that I go to shows and I'm like, starting to happen. Let's go. It's things like that, that are super important. So it's all different. It's a creative business, but it's also a very rewarding business if you love what you do.
Hmm. And I was curious with the artist kind of signing and scouting process, how do you think that differs between a major and an indie label? And do you think that maybe on one side or the other, you have more latitude to kind of pick artists that maybe don't have like that appeal already, or like that you get to experiment more?
Well, it's changed over the years. So I'll talk about right now since we're I think major labels, were really or have really been dependent, well, they're kind of going backwards, but dependent on social media, dependent on, what's happening on TikTok, what's happening on Instagram, who's following what, how many followers they have. They're starting to see that there's no guarantee with that. And it's really about artist development. Where I come from is the old artist. Eric and I come from the old artist development, like find an artist, start working on their songs, start putting them out there, stuff like that. So I think there's so much gamut to go from. You still want somebody with big social media following. Us as an independent label, we don't look at people's social media. I mean, we need to. And I'm not saying we shouldn't because I would love to find somebody that has a big social media following, but it doesn't mean that it always transcends, you know? And I've also seen companies who sign people with big social media and it doesn't cross over. It doesn't work when it comes to getting seats in the stadium or get them at their shows or so I just think we're in an evolution business right now. And there is no right way. Go with what your heart believes. When it hits you here, that's when you get behind it. That's when you figure it out. I mean, it's hard to build an artist in social media. It takes time. It takes years. And not everybody has the time for that. So majors usually don't have time for that. So they wait for somebody like us, a small label, to do all that. And then they come do a joint venture with you as the artist builds. That's probably the majority of what happens right now. But it's open for both ways. And that's why we have small independent labels and managers developing artists. You develop and you develop and develop, and then you find the right label to go to partner with if you get lucky as the artist starts to grow. But I do you still see artists, that do blow up on TikTok like a Money Long or something like that, where their song starts, transcending on the social media outlets. So I just think it's the Wild Wild West. It's the Wild Wild West. There's no real formula that I know of. Um, Artists come to me in different ways. I trust the producers. Like, I work with DJ Camper a lot. He did Eric's co-star record. He worked on Joe Leone. He did Her. He's done Victoria Monet. He's like one of my favorite. He's not even that new of a producer, but he's one of my favorite musical producers, but also has the hot stuff. You know what I mean? Like somebody like him, if he said, "Hey, Allison, this is an artist I really believe in," I'm most likely going to do that deal with. A Tricky Stewart, people who know this business already. I really depend on my producers because one, they know who the hot new artists are coming out. They've already produced hits on everybody else. So it kind of pushes you in that game a lot faster. That doesn't mean I don't sign a nobody. Like literally, I was chasing this kid for a minute in Nashville he was a great songwriter, and I was gonna find the right producer for him. You know what I mean? So it just really depends with like what hits your heart. What makes you go, I want to listen to that person's song over and over and over again. And then I play it for other people who don't even know who they are. And they're like, who's that artist? That's hot. What's that? That's what I get really excited about.
For sure. Would you say you have any like red flags that jump out when you see an artist do something or act a certain way and you're like, that's not it. I can't.
Yes. So, ungrateful artists. I do not deal with ungrateful artists. Artists who think it's all about them, that don't understand it takes a team. You do not do this by yourself. You be respectful. I don't deal with unrespectful artists at all. There is no reason to be unrespectful. Even if they go on social media and say things, I really check out people's social medias, what they're talking about, because it gives you a glimpse into who they are. And you want good people. This is a hard business. You want artists who understand you're in the grind with them and you're working hard with them. They need to be grateful, thankful, and be respectful. That is a red flag for me. More than talent. If you're a disrespectful, I've worked with one of the most difficult artists in the world, which was Prince. And that was hard. You know what I mean? It was hard. Prince was hard. He was not an easy, and a genius. You hear his music, you go to his shows, you're like, "Oh my god," like, but he wasn't always warm and fuzzy. I've been around a lot of artists that aren't warm and fuzzy. Now at my age and after doing this, I just don't have that tolerance anymore.
Makes sense. So for an artist that's looking to develop and possibly get signed, do you think it's important for them to have sort of an identity for themselves built already, or do you think that they should be flexible and kind of willing to go in whatever direction is going to bring them the most success?
For me, I want an artist that has an identity. I can't make up your identity. I really can't. You know what I mean? They got to have an identity. On the other side, they need to be open to suggestions if some things aren't working or you think it's important enough to have a conversation. But an artist got to know who they are. They got to be the leader, and everybody comes back in to support them. Oh, I get it. I'm going to support what you're doing, but maybe we should go this way first. I have artists all the time who like think one song is the hit, and I'm like, okay, you think that's the hit? I think this is the hit, but let's go into a room and play it for everybody, and we're going to shut up. And which one wins? That's important because if their song wins, great. If the other song wins, you need to be open that you're not selling for you. And that happens a lot. Artists always kind of pick left of center and we're like, what made you pick that? No, because you know what I mean? It's close to their heart. So it's about being flexible, but being clear at who you are.
For sure. And then for artists that don't have any connections, they don't have, an A&R that they can call. What do you think is like a realistic and professional way for them to reach out and kind of get on the radar of those people that can, find them in?
Well, this is probably bad for me to say, but you got to reach out to who you're interested in working with. Like maybe send them a song once a week or hit them up on social media and say, "Hey, I have a great song." Don't send them a whole album. I don't have time to listen to a whole album. But if an artist actually wanted me to hear their stuff, if they sent me one song a week, "Hey, can you check out this one song?" Probably in my car or when I'm working out or when I'm hiking, I'm gonna hit that one song. Go, "Oh, I kind of like that song." Then they do it again and they stay consistent. We have an artist named Autumn Page who Autumn Page, I'm just saying right now, is gonna blow up. This She's one of the hardest working young women I've ever worked with. I just love her. She has her own sound, she has her own look. She makes her job easy, right? And she's just kind of getting out there. How she really started in this business is she would hit every producer up. "Hey, would you go in the studio with you? Go in the studio with me. Go in the studio with me. Would you go in the studio with me?" Until people started like listening to her. "Oh, let me get in the studio with you." And like she hustled. And the producer who brought her to me, a guy named Emil Gantos, he was like, "I'm not working with no more R&B girls. I'm good." He just, wrote the Charlie Wilson song and all that. He's like, "I don't want to work any more girls." But she was so consistent with him that he finally gave her a shot. And then he was like, "She's really good." And then he started being consistent on me. "Hey, Allison, I got this girl." And that's not even the truth of it is he wanted to work with my other artists. And I roll up at the studio and I'm just talking about where we're at a company. And he goes, "I got this girl." He goes, "Let me just play her." And as soon as he played me on Page, I was like, "Where's she at? Let's go." And so it's just one of those things where you have to be consistent. You have to know how to push enough where you're not getting on somebody's nerves. It's like an ebb and flow. You know what I mean? And then you get your champion because she went from, "I know who I am, I know what I'm doing. Let me get a producer to get behind me." Okay, I got my producer. And then she goes, "Help me get into the A&R world." Because, Emil Gantos has written number one hits, been on a lot of records. And he knew the right people and he brought her to me. And it's kind of that roadmap. You know what I mean? But you got to have the material first. If you really want a gig, if you want to get to the next level, you got to have material. You got to have song after song. You can't do it one song. Like she had like 30 songs. I was like, yes, 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 yes. And we're still developing her right now. But you have to be very clear where you're going. You have to be persistent and you have to find who are your like-minded people. Like if you're an artist like, I don't know, whoever, Autumn Page or Leon Thomas or whoever's Kehlani, find somebody whose ear has already touched that or the producer, because that makes the vehicle easier to get to the right people.
Great. And then finally, for last section, I want to talk a little bit about for people that are interested in working in A&R, doing what you do, some advice you might have for them. What do you think are some good ways for people that are interested in A&R to get their foot in the door and get a start in the business? I know earlier you mentioned, major labels, but are there any other tips you have?
Yeah, for sure. For one, managers, music managers. Everybody's looking for interns to come in and help. So maybe a successful music manager, go work for them. That's really important. Management, it's hard to find great management. So if you can find out who manages such and such, the artist you like, maybe call their office and say, hey, do you guys have interns? Go to BMI, ASCAP, those type of places looking for young people to come in, work there, start meeting people in the business, going to some of the events, like the Grammy events or any of the music events. Go to music events, start meeting people. Go sitting, what's the one they do in Anaheim all the time? NAM. NAM, show up at NAM. I'm at NAM. Everybody's at NAM. Do your research on who's going to be on the panel. Go up and introduce yourself. Hey, I'm such and such. You're on the panel. Hey, I want to meet you because da 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 da. Let me send you this. Can I get your email? Networking is super important, and that's where you meet people because executives come out to speak. They're always looking for somebody to help come in and help them, especially interns. Like, oh, let me see if you can intern for me. You know what I mean? Things like that. And also looking to the smaller labels, calling the smaller labels up saying, hey, do you accept interns? Hey, I'd love to come, especially if you're in school or something like that. But you don't even have to be in school. And then, using your contacts to go from there.
Awesome. And then are there any specific like skills or personality traits that you think really lend themselves to being successful in A&R?
Crazy? No, I'm joking. No, I'm joking. Not really. I think you just have to stay open. I think you passionate about music, passionate about helping artists, and just having a great ear, knowing music, knowing what you like. Do you like the hook? Do you like this? Having great suggestions. The other thing I look for people, young people in A&R, is if they know who the next producer is, young producers coming up. Like they're like, "Oh, you know who this producer is?" That because I'm not really out there looking for the next new producer. I find out who they are from people that I hang out with. Oh, who produced that? Oh, who did that? Oh, who did? Oh, I like that. So really having a knowledge of the business, like who's coming up, who's next, and possibly having those relationships with them. So it's like, oh, such and such just produced the new song on whoever. Oh, yeah, I met them here. I can get them on the phone. You should try them out. They're working on this, you're working on that. Someone who knows what's coming up before it's the wave is crucial to somebody like me.
Awesome. And then obviously today with like TikTok and all these algorithms, data has become so important. How important do you think it is to balance sort of having the ear and knowing, musically what works versus kind of being able to understand the data and the algorithms and what's trending?
Yeah, I it's crucial. To be honest with you, half my job is learning about data. And I'm not gonna say I like it, but it's here. So I think it's crucial, especially for a younger generation, to understand how to read the data, understand who the super fans are, understand where they're coming from, and really pulling the hood up of an artist and say, oh, this is how many Instagram followers they have. This is how many comments they had on it. This is where the comments came from. Like stuff like that is crucial. Right now, at our company, we are making that hard turn where it's about data. I wish it was just about music. It's about data and music. The music's like, you better have good music. Okay, that's a given. Now we got to understand the data to help our artists grow. And that is the new business. And AI won't even, I don't know if you're going to bring up AI. AI is a whole nother thing, but understanding data is the new music business. And it's not just streaming, because streaming's kind of getting this weird world right now, but it's understanding where they're growing, how they're growing, why they're growing, what times of day their stuff grow. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, since you mentioned AI, I'm curious about your opinions. I kind of thinking of two different ways to look at it. So obviously, AI is great at data analysis.
Yes.
Do you think that AI, maybe not today, but tomorrow, someday in the future, could be an A&R? Do you think that AI could?
Oh, it's already here. What are you talking about? Yes. It's crazy because, I have a love-hate thing about AI. I actually understand AI. AI, like, we need it. Like, I literally work on all my projects using some type of AI something. Like, oh, I got to do my spreadsheets. Oh, I got to do my information. Oh, pulling information. There's also AI artists. I got an AI artist sitting on my phone right now that I like. But I'm like, what do we do? Like, are we putting this out or not? You know what I mean? So, we're just at a different time. And if you don't embrace it, you get left behind. It's very similar to when we were at the record companies and streaming came. And the people who ran the labels, the CEOs, like, streaming, we're not going to worry about it. Now streaming controls everything, right? I mean, it's kind of changing. So you have to embrace AI. There will be AI artists, there will be AI producers, and there will be AI A&R. And we already have it because we look at TikTok and we look at, oh, what's really trending? It's already here. Oh, it's trending on TikTok. So it's just what it is. How it plays out for me and the younger crew is completely different. It is here. It's going to be a part of it. The business is changing so fast. I can't even keep up with how fast the business change is changing. And I'm one of those that's like, okay, teach me more, more, more. But it's changing so fast. And I think there's room for all of it, to be honest with you. Actually, I think there's room for all of it. Some people are going to want real artists. Some people don't care. They just want to hear great music and they're going to go listen to the AI concert where it's all fake and it's okay for them. So I think there's room for all of it. How it plays out, like I said, I think there's room for all of it.
Yeah. And then I guess looking at like your job specifically, how have you seen the role of A&R evolve over the years? Because obviously you kind of came in like the CD era
Mhm.
and then going into streaming and now the AI
I came
era.
in the 2-inch era.
All
That's how old
right.
I am. No, I hate to say that, but for real. Yeah.
How has your job changed? Like,
Uh,
I know you said that you're old school, you like developing artists,
yeah.
but has your day to day changed a lot? Do you still go out with
Yes.
artists?
No, the day to day has changed a lot. So I love my artists. I love spending time with them. But half of my day is doing data. Somebody telling me about the data, what we need to do. And I'm like, oh my God, what has happened? Like my world has changed drastically. It's just a different game now. And like I said, you have to adapt to it. So for me, I'm not gonna say, the Spotify for artists, going behind the room, seeing where they're trending, seeing what's going on. How does that work across TikTok? How do we grow their TikTok page? I mean, that's half my day. Half my day is how do you grow social content? How do you get them to go viral? There's no real way to go viral. And what else can we do? I also think it's trending back to artists that can go out and perform because people want to see real artists with real performers who write amazing songs too. What it shows right now is that touring's going up, and it's not the big tours; it's the 2,000 to 5,000 seaters are starting to grow, which is the middle artists because people want to see real artists and it can afford those tickets. So that's switching there. But at the same time, we are looking at the analytics. And now, how do we get to people to buy more music? And it's okay, well, now we need to go back to direct marketing, which is you come to the concert, you get a QR code, or we're selling you a CD, we're selling you a t shirt, we're selling you a fan this, we're selling you that. Now we're talking about music that maybe not be on the streaming platforms that you get directly from the artist's website for the next 2 months before we put it out on streaming so we can make some money because artists aren't making money. So that is the conversation now. How do we get money back into the artist's hands? Because they're not making money off their songs, because of streaming, unless you get on radio. And there's only very few that can get on radio because radio is expensive.
Yeah.
So it's this whole new evolution going on. And that's the conversation. And, but that's with any business evolution. You have to jump in, you have to figure it out, you have to evolve. That is everything about any business if it's going to survive.
Great. And then to kind of wrap things up, I'm curious, what are some things that you wish you knew when you first started in this business?
Whew, things I wish I knew. I would have did more publishing deals. Like I would have started my own publishing. Publishing's where the money's at. You know what I mean? I was A&R, like, oh, let me just help all these artists. But I would have did more publishing deals.
Mhm.
I think writing and owning your songs and publishing is the key. It's still the money maker in this business. So I wish I would have did more of that early on. And it's crazy because the person who helped me, like I said, my godmother in the business, she was in publishing. She told me not to go in A&R, to go work in publishing. And I was like, no, 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 I gotta go do A&R. She was right. I should have did publishing A&R because it's just a more steady business. It's learning ownership of songs and things like that. But, I don't regret any of it. I've done some of everything. I really, really love helping artists. I really do. I am here so artists are protected and not ripped off and they have a shot. So for me, that's what it's about. But the business is evolving and, you know, at JBR, we're trying to learn it quickly, become this cool little independent label that does old school, new school, and make money and be successful. And but most importantly, make sure our artists love what they do and love the company they're with.
Mhm. So, if you had to give one piece of advice
hmm
to aspiring artists or people that want to work in A&R, what would be your biggest piece of advice?
So do your homework. So first things first, know as an artist, know where you want to be, know who you are, put the work in, try to have many songs done as you possibly can. Like work on your craft. Work on your craft so you're ready. Because the thing about now releasing a record, when I came out, you released one, two songs to radio. That was it. But now you got to release every month. You got to feed the beast. You got to feed the algorithm so it grow and it will grow. So you need to be ready before you start releasing. You need to have enough content to keep releasing every month so you can build that algorithm on top of content. You got to cut content. You got to like cut as much content as possible to go with releasing. So you're releasing pieces of the same song over and over and over again. Do your homework, be ready. For somebody who wants to get in the business, do your homework on what you think is next. Know who the hot new producers are. Producers are the key to this business. I've always said that. Producers know who the next artist is coming. They know what the next trend is. Get to know who the hot producers are. If you have a Rolodex of hot producers, you in the game. Because I'm not going to the studio all night anymore. I used to be at the studio all night, go from studio to studio, meeting with people. I'm not doing that now. And now people are at their home doing, we bedroom producers. Know who that hot producer is, meet them, become friends with them, get to know them, help develop stuff with them. That is a huge, powerful Rolodex, big Rolodex for somebody who wants to do A&R.
Great. And then to finish it up, where can people find out more about you and JBR and the work you're doing?
Yeah. So I'm Alison, ALISONBALL Media on all platforms. And then JBR Creative Group is on all platforms. And yeah, you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, we're on everything. Um, and yeah, that's where you can find us.
And I hear that you're into podcasting as well, right?
Yes, I just started a podcast. So I have a book that I'm coming out with called Don't Be a Dumb Bee Like Me, Life Lessons of a Woman Who Had It All, Lost It All, and Got It All Back. And that really just jumps into mistakes that I made younger and personal life, stuff like
Mhm.
that. And also I took time off from the business. So I have two kids. I have a 22-year-old and a 19-year-old and how I got myself back in the business. And when nobody wanted to hire me and they thought like, oh, you're too old and da 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 da. You know what I mean? So and I crawled my way back into the business on my terms. And the podcast really talks about life lessons on how to be resilient, how to believe in yourself, how to reinvent yourself, and how to, get back on your feet and never give up. But really importantly, know what you want. And so I started the podcast really not just for women, but it's really about we all have our challenges in our life and how we don't let our challenges or things that have happened to us stop living our dream. No matter what age, no matter what, you got to keep moving. And that's really what it's about. Keep moving and then things start working out. So yeah, I really like my podcast. It's a solo podcast right now, but I will start bringing on different people, especially people in the business I've worked with, and really talk about, their pitfalls and how they reinvented themselves back out.
Great. Well, it's been a pleasure having you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you. It's been fun.